Well, hello, my dirty girls, and welcome to Training Tuesday. Here we are again. It is. Is everyone else enjoying this? What do they call it? Polar vortex that we're having. Like globally, we seem to be just freezing. So welcome to Training Tuesday, and welcome to the first part in what I think is going to be a five-part series. And I've decided that if I don't get enough into this five-part series that I want to do, we'll just do another series after it. But here's what got me thinking. I know that you know a lot about the topics and things that we are going to talk about tonight and for the next few weeks. I know we've talked about them before. I know that these are topics and issues that you are comfortable with and you know about and you've read about, and if you've coached with me, we've coached about it. And I also know that sometimes we forget. And we don't necessarily forget when we're just talking about things. We forget more typically when life gets busy, when our boss gets stressed and we're feeling pressure. We forget when our teammates are stressing out and their anxiety is affecting us. Um, when life happens and we get busy, we have a tendency to fall back into our reactive, people pleasing mode, and we don't even realize it. We may not even see it initially. And the thing is, we don't recognize it right away because we're used to it. Being in people pleasing mode is, oh, my camera's adjusting, sorry. Being in people pleasing mode is what we grew up with, right? It feels like the right action. The initial reaction feels like the right thing to do. It feels like the right words to say because that's what we've always done and that's how it's always been. So tonight, I want to invite you to consider that maybe it's not. And that maybe we need to do a little reminder of how we step up and into the new us, right? The new version of us. And give me 1 second here because Facebook is deciding tonight I get to see nothing. I get to see no one, I get to see nothing, so I'm just going to try to adjust my screen here to see if I can see more. There we go. Hey, I see Joyce is here. See, I have to look all the way down to get what I want to see, so I apologize for that. And Jackie's here. Great to see you guys tonight. Thank you for joining, and for anybody else joining, welcome to Training Tuesday, and we are here every Tuesday night to talk about all things leadership, confidence building, getting our career going, figuring out if we need to take a step back, if we need to push forward, how do we speak up, all those good things. And so we are starting this January with a little bit of back to basics. I want to invite you to revisit these fundamentals so that we can bring the awareness back to the surface. So I'm going to ask you to slow down just a smidge in all the craziness that's happening because you've got deadlines and things are happening at work and nobody's slowed down this year and all that fun stuff. Just to slow down a smidge and ask yourself, is this how I want to lead? Is this how I want to lead? Because over the next few weeks, we're going to start painting a very clear picture of you as a leader, of who you want to be, so that we can understand better what's the energy you want to bring to your leadership style. Who is it, right? What are your leadership strengths that you want to really lean into to cultivate that leader in order to share being that person? Because there's nothing to stop you from being the leader you want to be today except the old habits. That's really the only thing that holds us back. So the more aware we are of the attributes, of the characteristics of the leader that we want to be, then the more likely we are to hold ourselves accountable for making the choices, making the decisions that that woman would make. for showing up the way that woman, for behaving the way that woman, the version of us that we know is the version of the leader we want to be. She's showing up as she would and accepting the consequences of showing up as that leader. Because when you start showing up differently than you do today, there are consequences. There are people who will look at the new you and decide they don't like her. She's not as nice. She's not as amenable. She's not doing all the things. They may decide she speaks up too much. They may decide they don't like her opinions, right? Any number of things will come to push you back into the comfort zone, into the seat you've always been in. And it will be up to you to decide whether you're going to step back or not. So this is the practice I want us to kind of lean into, is that we come together on a Tuesday night to agree that you are the CEO of your life. You get to choose who you are in your life, who you are in your career, which means who you are as a leader. And you don't have to be any particular way. You don't have to have any particular set of qualities just because of the way you were raised, just because of the situation you're in, just because of your family, because of your current work environment. They don't have to dictate the energy and the leadership that you bring to any given situation. So that's the choice I want us to be really conscious of over these next few weeks, to kind of get ourselves a little bit off of autopilot. So the goal of this whole series, at least these first 5 sessions, is going to be how we reestablish our leadership drive, reestablish the belief we have in ourselves, and remind ourselves that this doesn't just happen. We are not just handed leadership. We are not just handed a new personality. It doesn't just sort of fall on us one day that we show up somehow differently than we ever were before. That's not how this is. It's not awarded. You are not born with it. It is a choice. It's a choice you get to make. So, tonight, we start with the very basic of the basics. Terry, you're here. Hey, it's great to see you. And the basic of the basics is, I can't do a drum roll, can I? I probably shouldn't do a drum roll on my computer. Values. Values. I know. There's eye rolls. There's groaning happening out there. I get it. I get it. Values feel like they're so overdone. We're always doing values. Why are we always talking about this? I already know. I sympathize. I do. But you're wrong. Our situations change, the people around us change, our jobs change, what we need changes. And when things change, our values do change. As women, in particular, as we age, we actually become a little bit more of who we are. That nice hormone, the hormone that makes us nice, by the way, is estrogen. And I talked about this last week also, right? So when we go through menopause and your estrogen drops, that the need to nurture and be nice lessens a little bit, and you become a little bit more of who you are, but you also become more experienced. You have different views, right? And a different perspective on things. So visiting your values on a regular basis, honestly, is just smart, because it keeps you aware, it keeps you conscious, and it keeps you in alignment with who you are, where you're going, where you want to be, who you want to be, and what do you want to have happen next. So here's the game. You get a phone call. The game we're going to play around values tonight is this. You're going to get a phone call from your BFF in the whole entire world, and she's going to tell you, I just won the lottery, and I'm giving you half. Now this is life-changing money. This is money that means you never have to work a day again. It's life-changing. You can't spend it in your lifetime. So here are the things I want you to think about. I actually want you to write them down, but I didn't warn you all to go get paper. So, don't get paper now. Jackie, I'm just looking at your note. I have been talking about values for the last 2 weeks. Knowing your values, revisiting when you're in a challenge that kept me great. Yes, I am talking to you, Jackie, and I'm talking to everyone else. And that is just it. What Jackie mentions is exactly why we revisit this, because the values that are the most important to us drive our decision making. So here are the decisions I want you to make based on the idea that your BFF just called you up and said, I have life-changing money and you're getting half of it. So, first question you're going to answer is, what are the first three things you're going to do with that money? Now, when you think about life-changing money, you could have a list of 10 things, 20 things, 100 things that you want to get done. I want to go here. I want to go there. I want to buy this. I want to get that. I want to take these people and do these things. I want to put it in the bank. Like, you could have all these things you want to do. Top three. What are the first, it doesn't mean you're not going to do the other things. It's what are the first three things you do with life-changing money? That's question number one. 3 things. Question number 2. Who are the first 3 people you're going to tell about this life-changing money? Now, BFF doesn't count because she called you. So now you have to decide who are the next 3 people who get to hear that you have life-changing money. All right, so first question, what are the first 3 things you're going to do? Second question, who are the first 3 people you're going to tell? Third question, when do you quit your job? At what point do you quit your job? Or do you quit your job? The question is, when do you quit your job? But really behind that is, do you? So maybe the when is never. No, don't. I love my job. I'm keeping my job. Money or no money. I'm doing all these other things, but I'm keeping my job. Or maybe it's the second I hang up the phone with my BFF. Maybe it's I wait. Like, what's your choice? So those are the 3 questions I want you to answer. We're not done with the game yet, though. Those are the 3 questions I want you to answer and think about. First 3 things you're going to do. First 3 people you're going to tell. And when? When do you quit your job? Now, the next set of questions. What is your BFF going to do? What are the first 3 things your BFF is going to do with that money? We're going to set aside that the first thing she did was split it with you. Take that out of the equation. She's done that. What are the next 3 things your BFF does with her money? Who, other than you, are the 3 other people she's going to tell first about winning the money? And when does she quit her job? So I want you to answer those questions for yourself, and then I want you to answer those questions for your BFF. And then I want you to think about, first 3 things I do with my money might be what? Maybe I go traveling. Maybe I put a big chunk of it in the bank for just rainy day security, you never know. Maybe I take a portion of it and I divide it among my kids. Maybe I go buy a yacht. I'm just going to sail around the world. Who are the people I tell? If I'm only telling 3 people, who do I tell? Do I tell my mom? If I tell my mom, that's kind of a 2-for-1 because I know she'll tell my dad. Do I tell my kids? Ooh, I have 3 kids. Which one do I tell? Maybe I tell none of them, right? Who do I tell? When do I quit my job? Do I quit my job right away, or do I wait until that check has cleared my bank account? Now, when you just think about those things, as I'm just kind of wondering out loud what I would do, what does it tell you about me? The first couple things I throw out there, what it tells you is travel. Might take a trip, go on a vacation, countries I want to see, go buy a yacht, sail the world. Travel is big on my list of things I like to do. Travel and adventure are high values of mine. I did mention potentially taking a chunk and just saving it for the just in case fund. So maybe stability, some sort of financial stability is important to me. I talked about maybe divvying up some among my kids. That might be family's important to me. That might be taking care of people is important to me. Right, so when you start breaking apart the things you would do, it starts answering the question of values. And values are what drive how I make my decisions. So who are the first three people I'm going to tell? My mom, duh, my mom. But not everybody would tell their mom or tell her first. You know, my kids, yeah. Although there's three of them, so I'd have to figure out a way around that one. Because I only have three people to tell. My BFF already knows because she gave me the money, so who's next? Right? Tells me who are the people, not just who's important in my life, who's trustworthy. Like, that's a big piece of news. Who do I trust with that piece of news? And then when do I quit my job? Well, if I'm sitting here thinking, maybe I don't quit my job till that check has cleared my bank account, then there might be some trust and stability and security that's important to me. Whereas if I just hang up the phone with my BFF and call my boss and say, out of here, see ya, not quite as worried about the security, am I? I'm kind of believing it's going to happen. Now, the reason I ask you to consider what would your BFF do is because I want you to think about somebody not in your family, but who you know very well. How would they make a different decision? My BFF likes to travel, but not the way that I do. It might not be at the top of her list, honestly. Taking care of family would definitely be more at the top of her list than it was of mine. Right? We have different things we would invest in. And we might invest in some of the same things, but we would go about it a different way. And it makes it much more clear to me then that when her values, right, when I'm looking at her values compared to mine, which angle of this is more important to me, because I'm comparing it against what's important to her. So this is one of the reasons why I think make two columns. One is for you, one is for your BFF, and then take a look. The beauty about values, it's a judgment-free zone. Values are not good or bad, they're not right or wrong. Values are the core beliefs, the core principles that guide your behavior. They impact your priorities, they help you decide your priorities, they reflect what matters most to you. Every decision you make every day hinges on one of your values. So think about that game that we just played, and let's take it down to a simpler kind of everyday level. You get up in the morning. When you get up in the morning, what's the first thing you do? When you get up in the morning, now some of this I understand is habit and routine, but think about how did that morning routine come about? Because things were important to you, because you made choices and priorities. So some of you get up in the morning and the first thing you do is brush your teeth, wash your face, maybe throw on some clothes, and go make coffee. Some of you may not bother with washing the face and brushing the teeth, and you head straight for the coffee machine. Some of you may get up, throw on your workout clothes, and go hit the gym or go for a run or go do yoga or Pilates somewhere. Some of you may wake up and go, nope, and you hit snooze and you're back in bed again. But I want you to think about your morning routine. What do you do first? Why do you do it? How much of this is on autopilot? How much of this is conscious? So one of the things we do with our morning routine, right, is we put it together to fit the time we have, the responsibilities we have, and the what we want and the what we need. So if I go through my morning routine, I can tell you very much my routine is prioritized according to what is important to me for the allotted window. So when I run out of time, it's the things later on my list that get dropped, right? First thing on my list is I get up, I throw on clothes, I walk the dog. Like, he's first. I walk the dog. I come back, I feed the animals. And then I work out. So I go for a run or I do some yoga or exercises depending on the weather. Today was not a run day. It was -1 when I got up. So walk the dog, I work out, I meditate. Then then shower, teeth, brush the teeth, do the shower, comb the hair, whatever, and then coffee. Now, the thing that gets cut out of there is workout will be shortened, meditation will be shortened or skipped in the morning. if I have early morning meetings, in which case I go from abbreviated workout to shower to coffee, because coffee doesn't get skipped. Coffee might be at the end. It kind of marks the end of my relaxing morning routine and the start of my workday. The coffee does, but it doesn't get skipped. So think about your morning routine and think about the priorities you made there. What was important to you? You all know, if you've been watching me a while, the dog is very important to me. He falls in the bucket of my kids, right? So again, knowing all this, knowing that we make our decisions and our choices, our actions are based on our priorities are based on our values. What are your top 5? What are your top 5? Now, any values exercise, I can send you mine if you want it. You can Google values exercises too. What they basically do is you get a sheet with a list of words and you have to circle. You are going to circle like 15, 20 when you first get started, because there's so many that sound good and sound like you. The point of picking just 5, going through the motions of narrowing it down to just 5, is to get to the core of what's important to you right now. Right now. Here's the thing. I'm going to assume, so I want you to assume, integrity, honesty, family, those are always in your top 10. All right, I assume integrity is important to you. I assume some level of honesty is important to you. For most of you, I assume your family is important to you. Do not put those in your top 5 unless truly you are making decisions every day based on your family. Now, when my kids were little, family was top 5 because my daily schedule rotated around what my kids were doing and what they needed. And so I was making daily decisions based on that. My kids are older. My youngest just turned 23 earlier this month. Their lives don't rotate around me and mine not around them. Not nearly so much anymore. Are they still the most important people in the world to me and my favorite people on the planet? Yes. Yes, they are. Would I put them in my top 5 values? My top 5 decision-making values? No, on a day-to-day basis. Do I think about them? Am I concerned about them? Do I still make some decisions regarding them? Yes, but on a day-to-day basis, no. They're not in the top 5 anymore. Not for that. I'm specifically talking about how you make your daily decisions, because that's how we lead. We lead every day. So, get rid of integrity. I know you got it. Get rid of honesty. I know you want it. Get rid of family unless it truly is a significant factor in how you make your day-to-day decisions. Focus on a different 5 that you bring to the table every day when you're making decisions. Now that's part 1 of the exercise. I'm going to take a few extra minutes to talk about part 2. And usually when we do coaching, and if you've done any of my classes, these are 2 separate lessons. You guys are getting like a mini crash course here in values, but I think it's important. I think it's good for us to know part 2, because part 2 is where we look at the 5 words that you chose. So let's say you chose adventure, freedom, financial stability, passion, and what's the 5th one? I didn't write any down, so I'm doing this off the top of my head. Communication. Let's say that. Well, I want you to look at those and think, okay, where did these come from? These values that I picked, why are they important to me? Why are these my values? Because our values come from somewhere. There's 3 basic buckets our values come in. First one, most common one for most of our values, is family, culture, the environment in which you grew up. So your parents infuse you with values, right? They raise you with their values. Most of the time we grow up and we adopt their values. And as we get older and independent, we still probably hold the majority of their values, but there might be others we swap out, right? You guys have heard me talk before. In my family, the value of achievement and education was very important. Very important. So I was very competitive, and I was very concerned about achievement, about being smart, about being educated. Now this meant that I was not focused on athletics. I was not focused on the arts. I was focused on good grades. I grew up still believing, and I still do today, in the importance of education and the value of achievement. I'm still very competitive. And I raised my kids with very similar values along those lines. I have a value of adventure because I grew up in a family that traveled a lot. We moved every 2 years to a different country. We were everywhere. So there are values. Some of you might be raised with values of financial conservativeness, right? You're very conservative with your money. You're very good at saving. You have this financial stability because you were raised that way, because your family taught you that. Others of you might be more shoppers who like to spend money. Maybe there was someone in your household who also exhibited those behaviors, right? Family cultural values, right? Cultural values come from the society we live in, the country we live in, the religions we live within, right? Those rules, they all shape. That's one bucket. Bucket two, we have what is called fear-based values. Now, fear-based values sounds bad. It's not bad. But it is a tricky one to be conscious of. Fear-based values are the values that we adopt because we are trying to prevent something from happening. A fear-based value is a value you put in place because you are trying to keep out something. It's almost like a boundary value. Now, here's the difference. If you put on your list that one of your values, for example, is financial stability. Okay, nothing wrong. Like I said, values, they're not good or bad. They're not right or wrong. Fine. What you want to get to is, why is financial stability a value? Why is that a value? Financial stability is a value because I want to be comfortable that I've taken care of my family. Financial stability is a value because I want to know that I can go afford to do this or go do that when I want to. It gives me a certain amount of freedom. Great. Go to town. Or if I answer that question with, financial stability is very important to me because I never want to be poor again. Because once I was, and it was very horrible, and I never want to be there again. That's a fear-based, right? That's a fear-based motivation for the value. The value then isn't because it provides me with something positive. It's because it's keeping the negative out. Just because something is fear-based doesn't mean you need to get rid of it. It does mean I want you to be aware of the motivation why it's there. Because the motivation for what we do with money, when we are fear-based versus more aspirationally based, we make different types of decisions. So keep that in mind. What are the fear-based values? The values of being in relationship or in communication. I'd rather over-communicate than under-communicate, because once I didn't communicate well, I was misunderstood, my relationship blew up. I'm never doing that again. So now it's just diarrhea of the mouth every time I talk to my partner because I don't want to leave anything out, right? Fear-based. As opposed to, I value communication because I know if my partner has clarity, is clear and understands where I'm at and what I'm doing and what I'm all about, we will minimize misunderstandings. So maybe I don't have to tell them everything, but I am conscious that I am keeping my partner aware of what's going on with me. Different motivations trigger different actions. All right, so bucket one is family culture. Bucket two is your fears, and bucket three is aspirational. Now, bucket one, we are given, we are inherited. Bucket two is reactionary. It's a response to something that's happened. Aspirational in bucket three are our chosen values. They're the values where you've grown up and you've got these values about being, I'll just use my own example because they're easier to remember, right? Education, achievement, like all these things. Aspirational then becomes, you know what, I was always the kind of a shy kid, and I want to be bold. I want boldness and courage to be my value, not kind of shy and safe. I'm choosing that. I'm choosing that because I saw someone once who was bold and motivational, and I really admired her, and I want to be a lot like her. Like, that really appeals to me. That's a chosen value. I'm choosing that direction. That's the part of the person I want to be. So when you pick your top five, what I would ask you to consider is which ones of these fall in family, which ones may be reactionary, fear-based, and which ones are aspirational. So first classify the 5. If you end up with 6 or 7, fine, but try to get into 5. After you've classified it, after you've classified them, I want you to consider, are these the values? Are these the 5 values of the leader I want to show up as? Do the values I'm working on today, and that's what I want you. You need to pick your 5 values based on who you are and where you're at today. Do they match the leader that I know I want to be, the leader that I know I can be? Now, if your values are aligned, fabulous. Just turn up the volume. If you're looking and going, this one value here, I know why it's been important to me, but maybe if I dialed that back and I brought up this other one, I might show up a little bit more like that leader that I really want to lean into. This gives you control. When you know what your values are and you know where you're behaving from, you have control over how you show up. You get to make the choices. And this is why we start with values, because it's all about the decisions you make every day, and it can start small. Everyday decisions, everyday life. Start little. Show up bolder if bold's where you want to go. There. Show up with more passion if passion's where you want to go. In your daily routine. When you're walking around your house, start weaving it in small bits in your work environment, right? Muscles that you exercise. So remember, you pick your 5 values. You pick them based on where you are today. There's no good or bad. There's no right or wrong. There is no judgment for where you are today. Pick the 5, align them to, is this a family value that I've inherited? Is this a fear-based value that I've put up in a reaction to something? Is this aspirational because it really is more of where I want to go and who I want to be? You have the option, once you've done that, to swap out your values, to decide this one doesn't work for me anymore. I'm going to do something else. As my kids got older, I didn't decide my kids weren't important. I did decide that I'm going to prioritize developing more adult friendships, right? I need more of my girlfriends than I do my friends right now, because we're the network that's taking care of each other while my kids are all off living their lives and doing their things. And that's fantastic. I want my kids living their lives and doing their things. And I have friends locally that will help me when I need help, that we take care of each other. And of course my kids will too. But the priorities, right? Prioritizing where we put our energy and how we show up. Leadership is a choice. How we show up is a choice. How we behave is a choice. And it starts with our values. So go identify yours and then go figure out what you really want on that list. That is our training for tonight, my friends. It is the values. If you would like the values worksheet that I have, drop the word values in the chat comments, and I am happy to share that. I will drop that in for you. It is, like I said, it is literally a list of words, and I think in the directions you circle 15, and then you circle 10, and then you whittle it down to 5, so that you can get to those top 5 of where you are today. Thank you for joining me tonight. I hope you guys have fun with this series. I'm really enjoying it. I felt the need to get back to some fundamentals, mainly because I need to get back to some fundamentals. I had a reminder just today that maybe there was some leadership fundamentals I had forgotten that I needed to step back into. Foot in mouth. It happens. So we're going to do this together. We're going to revisit who we are as leaders and who we want to be, and get this year kicked off to a really great start. Have a fabulous rest of your week, ladies, and thank you for joining me tonight.